experience in this game can feel free to correct me on some things, because I'm not going to get it all correct. And please bear with me. So here we go. We're going to go to the altar here. I just wanted to get that, that nice shot. The sun in the background. It's actually kind of awesome. I like this area a lot. Alright, so here we go into meditation. Stat-wise, here, let me change my class real quick. Okay, stat-wise, this is the stats I'm running right now. They matter, but they don't really matter too much. It just matters when it comes to damage and how you're going to be able to gain access to your powers and whatnot. But classes also change that for you as well. For example, Forsaken has a 0.8% increase. Well, 0.08% increase for shard refill. Also affects the damage with the deck that I'm gonna probably be making. I'm probably gonna have to think about what class I want to choose too for when I showcase. We'll see. I'll take over the slot. I don't mind. Alright. So, when it comes to deck building, when you click on one of these move slots now, if you're starting off the game, a new game to be specific, you're not going to have all these slots unlocked. They unlock eventually. Let me check on the audio here, actually. Make sure that my audio is working properly. Don't want to sound muffled. That wouldn't be fun. Okay. Perfect. All right. So when you click on one of these slots, you're going to see some moves pop up. Now, if you're starting off this game, you're not going to have all these moves unlocked, but it'd probably be best that you unlock all these moves so you can actually experiment here. So when you click right on the thumbstick, here we go. It pops up what type of move this is. This is a thrust move. Its range is 1.8. Target mid. Doesn't really matter though. It will be a dodge side to side move. Startup is 11 frames. Advantage on hit will be 3 frames on top of your startup frames. Advantage on guard will be 0. So if your starter is this attack, you will not be able to follow up with any attacks. So this game is very turn-based when it comes to my turn, your turn moves. This is a no more your turn move if you don't hit it. So you got to have some good attack sequences here on the left. Now, if you do manage to miss it, let's see, it's finished in top left. So if you do manage to miss it, I don't think you'd be able to do even an alternative attack, actually, now that I think about it. So I would not use Jump Light Kick as a starter. I remember I used to do decks with Mill Punch as a starter. As you can see, Mill Punch has good range, so you can unlock tech with it, but it's not a great starter attack. It's 14 frames, which means that it's very reactable. The advantage on hit is 8 frames. Advantage on guard is 3 frames. So if somebody blocks this attack, you'd have basically lost your chance to do a starter, but most people don't really mind blocking your attack. So they'll probably just block the attack and try to dodge the next attack, which is most likely going to be a horizontal. The reason why I'm saying that is because, I mean, that'd be the only way you'd be able to catch someone with this attack. You'd have to have either 2 straights or a straight horizontal, which this is a thrust into a horizontal high. You could do horizontal low as a mix-up. Most people that are playing Windfall would probably be more comfortable dodging high horizontals. So you could definitely mix it up with that. This deck wouldn't be very viable though, simply because 14 frame starter into a 12 frame, which has a -1 on guard. So you'd probably not be having very much fun with that. So the way I like to start building my decks is I would typically just think about what moves I want on the alternative, and I'll try to mismatch it on the attack sequences. So, for example, these moves, you want it to be your heavy hitting moves on the alternatives. You don't want it to be like, you don't want to have, for example, a sidekick here, and then over here you'd have something different, because it'd be too slow. Most people can actually react to it. I don't think you'd want, like, for example, before I deleted all the moves, this is exactly what I was running. It's not very viable, because if you are someone like me that likes to do square triangle mix-ups only, you're going to be asking to be jabbed out of every single attack. So you're going to want to use triangle at first, but this is why my deck is not really viable, because of my playstyle. Now, if your playstyle is you'd want lighter attacks on your alternatives and you'd want heavier attacks on your attack sequences, that's fine. I'm not saying it's not going to be completely viable, it's not going to be fun. I did have a lot of fun using this deck, because obviously the mix-up highs and lows definitely works as a good 50-50, because, I mean, your opponent has to track your feet movement. They're going to see this come out slow, but if you, for example, hook it up into a combo, they have no other choice but to either dodge or block, which by that point they're probably going to try and dodge, because if they block all of this and they don't get guard broken, this will break their guard. And you can even feint it into another attack. Feinting works by pressing L2 or your block button at the startup of your attack. I've heard that you could delay it a little bit, but it's not really going to work too well. Slower moves, they feint very, very slowly compared to the faster moves. So this is 13 frames, right? Yeah, 13 frames. So 13 frame move, pretty immediate. This is going to be 15 frames, 16 frames here. Very slow, as you can see. And this is a 12 frame. It works so much better, and it flows much nicer. That's why most people have between 10 to 11 to 12 frames in their deck. Personally, I would not use 10 frame decks unless, like, you're planning on ruining your opponent's day and you really don't want to have fun. That's just as simple as that is. So let's see. You can always start off with Drunk Crane. Voice crack there. Drunk Crane is actually pretty viable. It's very versatile. If you have Flute Swing as the alternative, obviously Flute Swing, you need to hit the Flute Swing first so that you can confirm your Drunk Crane. That's another thing. Confirming attacks depends on the frames. So, for example, spinning Flute Swing, if they block it, you're not going to get the Drunk Crane off guaranteed. Your opponent can dodge it. Although they'd have some carryover frames preventing them from dodging almost any attack, but they'd still be able to dodge Drunk Crane. But if you hit it, as you can tell, it confirms a 12 frame, and what do you know? Drunk Crane is 12 frames. So it confirms definitely, but it's not always going to hit, so you cannot rely on this mix-up. Although the mix-up is nice, and it does cook your enemies a little bit. You can hook a 12 frame into a 12 frame, or you can mix it up into a 13 frame, but the problem is that now you have a bottleneck. Why is that? Well, you have two high horizontals here, so you'd probably be better off with a low, so that the mix-up potential is there. And as you can see, down bottom right center, those are indicators of the rating. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but if you start seeing a C in your strength and mobility, which is top and bottom, there's a problem with your deck for sure. because if you have a B in mobility, it indicates that your deck is at least moderately fast. If that thing turns to a C, then your deck is slow as hell. So you could pair Sidekick with Drunk Crane. The reason why you could pair those two is because it's a good mix-up. You have a high horizontal with vertical. Well, thrust. You have a mid thrust with a high horizontal. So it should be a good mix-up. And it confirms 10 frames on hit. The advantage on guard is 3. Learning your confirms and stuff just pretty much has to do with math. Most of the time you're adding instead of taking away, but if it's advantage on guard, you'd want it to be even. Just like with front kick, because front kick confirms 12 frames either way. If they block it or dodge it, dodging is a different story. You're at a disadvantage if they dodge it, but if they block it or if it hits them, you're guaranteed a 12 frame. So let's revise this. So you're guaranteed a 12 frame here for this alternative. So for the other alternative, you might be thinking that you might want to do this one, right? Because it makes sense, 12 frame, you can confirm with this one, either on hit or guard, and you can confirm 12 frame here. If your opponent sees this attack, breaking attacks are slower than most attacks, so the moment they see this attack, if it still hits them, it doesn't matter, because this move right here, they're going to dodge it, okay? They're going to dodge it. They don't want to risk the stamina cost of all this. Like, look at the stamina cost. Impact on guard is 138.9. The stamina cost for you is 19.5. So even if they have pretty good fucking stats, you're gonna hit them, and it's gonna do a lot of damage to their stamina. So they're not gonna want that. It's not gonna be viable for them. So you might want to maybe mix it up with high horizontal or low horizontal. This is very slow, so I wouldn't recommend that actually. Let's see here. Could do run up strike. It's very slow, but it keeps you from getting jabbed out of certain attacks. Confirms 12 frames on hit, but it doesn't confirm your hit on guard. You lose all your frames, and you have like maybe 1 or 2 carryover frames along with the advantage on guard, but you don't want that. Although if you are good at mixing your opponent up and confusing the hell out of them, it should be fine. So this attack does more stamina damage to your opponent, but the problem is that, look at the range. You don't want an attack that is going to diminish your offensive potential. So I don't think I want that. I think instead I'll keep Sidekick here. That's a good mix-up. I'm going to probably put Flute Swing here because most of the time my top left stance has Drunk Crane in it. And for my bottom right alternative, let's see here. Here, let me first add an attack to go along with my alternative for top right stance here. So your starter, it definitely matters as much as you'd think it wouldn't, because your opponent sometimes, depending on how good they are, your opponent is going to just sit there and wait for your starter attacks to dodge. So you might not want to rely on your starter as a good attack sequence. Most of the time, you don't really have to worry about it because most of the people on here are not that good, but it's a possibility, There are people that will spam 10 frames just to get away from you. So I would not put it past anybody that they would want to diminish your chances of doing more damage to them. So I think I'll actually start with a low. Only problem here, obviously, they start in the same side. So classes like Forsaken and Phajin will parry your attack, and mostly Forsaken you have to worry about when they parry your attack. Phajin has like disadvantages on everything they do almost. So The speed should be enough for a good potential mix-up, but I would not rely on it. So that leaves us with Rabbit Punch, although I'm not complaining because it's still a 12 frame. The advantages and disadvantages, you're not going to have that many advantages and disadvantages with lighter attacks or medium attacks. The disadvantages with the light attacks, yes, they're fast, so you have more potential on hitting your opponent, but look at the damage. It doesn't do anything. It's basically just a suggestion. So we're going to go here. We're going to want to go to top stance, so we're going to want to do a vertical and a horizontal high. I could have saved this and put it into my bottom left stance, but the problem with that is this attack is pretty fast, but it's pretty obvious too. I'm using this here for unlock tech potential. I'll demonstrate unlock tech in the showcase of this deck. So here we're going to do Drunk Crane. And like I said, sometimes you want to pair your attack with another attack that's opposite of it. Or you could just leave it as is. The problem is that you're going from a thrust to a thrust, basically. So keep in mind that sometimes you do not want to keep Drunk Crane by itself. Now, I've seen people with decks that, you know, they'll have Drunk Crane by itself, and then they'll have low back fist. I'm not saying it's not going to work 100% of the time. I'm saying that it works sometimes if your opponent is not good at the game. So you want to pair your attack with the complete opposite of it, but you also don't want it to be in the same side. As you can see, these two attacks are pretty much in the same side. Although you can't really tell. Hell, I can't even tell, actually. So this is a left-right, this is right-right. So you want to change at least one thing here. So I could do still right-right. So let's see here. Now, most of the time, your opponent will be caught off guard. You can catch your opponent off guard. So you don't really have to worry too much about the directions, but if you're facing somebody that can parry you, like Phaeton or Forsaken, they're going to capitalize on that. So keep in mind that that's not going to be completely viable against your opponent. So here we see I'm going with Reaching Megiri and Wobble Low. The reason for that, even though the frame difference is pretty high, the advantage on hit and advantage on guard, along with the flow of the moveset, will definitely capitalize on most things. Especially if your opponent has bad timing or terrible catch of a rhythm. Mostly because like a fight is pretty much like a song. It has good rhythm, then it'll be a good fight. And you don't really want to worry too much about the little details, but worrying about the little details will definitely make you a better player. So from here we can see that it's going 12, 12, 12, 13, 13, 12. Which means that the speed of this deck is going to be medium, a medium speed deck. So it's not going to be a fast deck, which is why the mix-up potential on this deck is going to be incredibly high. These attacks on the alternate are so slow that you can catch your opponent off guard if you throw it in between these attacks, like I would normally do, because my playstyle is very attack-orientated, not really defense-orientated. But you don't have to be exactly like me in those regards to have a fun time on this game. You can build your deck however you want. Just make sure you keep in mind what confirms and what doesn't confirm. You don't have to do 2, 2, 2 in each square. You could do 3, 2, 3, 2, or you could just fill the entire thing. The problem with filling the entire thing is that then you have too many moves. You give your opponent too many chances to dodge in between strikes. And most most of the time, the third attack doesn't always confirm your next attack sequence. So for example, if I decided that I wanted to do this, as you can tell, my dexterity went to a C instead of a B. So keep in mind that it also lowers your damage too. You don't want your damage to drop below 100 at least. Now, most stagger style decks will drop below 100 sometimes, especially if they're, I don't know, if they're weird people. If they're weird people, they'll definitely drop below 99%. But as you can see, having a B overall is probably the best. If you have an A overall, that'll be like the most delightful deck you've ever built. You better keep that thing in your back pocket somewhere. And do not lose it. You don't want to lose it. So let's see here. So, right? Okay. So now this is a left. It's 12 frames. We don't have a single move here. Let's see what moves we can put here. I like axe kick a lot. Axe kick is very fun to use, especially after wobble low. Most people will fall for it, but as you can see, this is a problem here. Now this is a bottleneck. You can have a good 50-50 with wobble low, but this is now a bottleneck. So you got to keep in mind that how you build your deck determines how good your deck is. So here I have Temple Knock. Temple Knock is very viable because I could just, obviously it's going to be unsafe if I do this, but I totally could, and I could get away with it if I'm lucky enough. And this is a horizontal, high horizontal. So I have a vertical mid here, and I have a high horizontal. And they're around close to the same range. So it's completely viable. So now I can do a good little 50-50 here if I were smart enough to. So let's see, what moves do I have here that's available? I can do this. This has good range, so if my opponent is somebody that likes to block an attack and back the hell up, I can catch up. But now I have very little options that will be confirmed. So I gotta change that. It doesn't have to finish exactly in your top right stance. I just like moves that flow together because it makes comboing and mixing up a lot easier. So let's see here. This is one of those times where this move can be viable too. So it's a low. Your opponent can jump or dodge left or right. So now I'm going from 12 to 11 to 13. And then 12, 12. And I'm keeping it in a way so that my moves aren't directly linked and blockable or parryable, but Forsaken can definitely parry. Now, most of the time you do want your attack to be able to counter most of the classes, but I think timing your attacks should be good. God, I love axe kick so much. Alright, so we're going to discuss combat styles now. A little bit more of a focus on the combat styles, I should say. On the right there in the description, it says that it's a balanced style with slight focus on strength. This attack is basically, well, this class style is your parry style. You don't have any back movement, but you can parry everything if you time it properly. So this parry class has almost no faults other than the fact that you have to catch the rhythm of your opponent, you have to parry, and you have to have a good viable deck so that you don't get pushed onto the defensive. Because if you're in defensive with this class, chances are that you might get absolutely messed up in that match. This class, one of my favorite classes, Crackhead Energy is the best description for it. It improves melee strength and vitality, so as you can see, it'll increase your health by a bit, and it decreases your shards a little bit. I'm not sure, I don't remember what vitality does. Yep, it's health. That's what it is. And it improves your strength, so it increases the damage of attacks based on strength. Only problem is that this deck is not completely based on strength, which is why strength is not at an A. It's at a B. So it's got moderate strength, moderate dexterity, moderate mobility. So you don't have to worry too much about it if you're going to copy this deck. I would say that Windfall would probably be your best bet to get good with. Windfall improves your dexterity. So this deck has more dexterity moves than it does strength. So the ability for... let me show you the ability for Cult real quick. So, as you can see, the ability is basically, I let you punch me in the face, I get a little bit of health back, and because I'm getting a little bit of health back, I'll be able to take my turn from you. Most of the time, 2 12 frames together will counter your counter, so you got to be very careful with this class. This class used to be the best, but breaking moves, these orange moves, yeah, you're not going to be able to absorb them. There's a mod on PC that allows you to do that, but I'm not on PC. I'm on PlayStation, so I'm not going to be able to experience that. And it's probably for the best because this class style specifically took over this game for a few years. So be on the lookout for crackheads. Windfall. So let me show you the abilities. You guessed it. This is the dodge class. This is the class that it's loosely based on Wing Chun, but don't worry too much about karate. Don't have to worry about it. Stagger style. Now, you could already tell what this class is. If you can't tell, then you're probably younger, on the younger end. Oh yeah, Windfall increases your health, by the way, but not as much as Cult does. And it lowers your stamina and shard refills, so keep that in mind. Stagger style, however, gives you more shard refill, lowers your health. I think the stamina is the same. No, stamina is getting raised. So this class's ability is basically, I'm overpowered and I don't know what else to do with it. Every dodge does an attack. As you can see, it does damage your opponent. It does quite a bit of damage too. It's not just a tickle. Front stagger, when you push forward, it has an armor on you. So it takes 2 attacks to get you out of it, or if they dodge, it gets your opponent out of that bind. This frame locks, by the way. So you could do an attack right after. Your opponent will probably be stuck blocking. Backstagger, dodges, horizontals, most of the time. You got to time it. It doesn't attack, though. And you can feint the attack and still dodge. So this is another crackhead energy type of combat style. You don't want to face opponents with stagger and not have a viable strategy. So if you're playing Windfall, you'd want to bait them into dodging straights so that you can duck them. If they back up to try and dodge a horizontal, if you feinted your horizontal, they would be forced to do the kick if they didn't feint it. So you'd be able to dodge to the side and get your turn back. Front stagger, only thing you can do is either dodge it, do mill punch or any attack that has 2 attacks in one succession, and pray to God that you hit. or just dodge the attack or block the attack and then the follow up, and then you could probably take a turn back. So this class, I've recently taken a liking to it, but I'm not good with it yet. I'm not going to use it. It's Fei Jin, or Jeet Kune Do, as you may know it. This is the Bruce Lee style. So this was Jackie Chan. This is Bruce Lee. It's got so many disadvantages. Front stance. So as you can see in the bottom right, bottom, straight bottom. As you can see in the bottom, when I hold R2 and I move my stick, these two is your front stance. These two is your back stance. So what this class means in the description is in your back stances, you can dodge. In your front stances, you can parry. And your frontal attack in your front stance does a stopping punch. That can stop armored moves. Let me go back to stagger. This front part I forgot to mention. Stopping attacks, extremely viable. Most stagger players will use front stagger only. Either that or they'll dodge some of your attacks, but then they'll use this as a starter attack some of the times. If you're Anderson Kalunga, you know that you're going to be mashing front stagger. So Fei Jin can be considered a counter to stagger, but the problem is that it's exactly like stagger. Parrying is what does the damage, except for low parry. And this is the problem with this class. Low parry, you're at a disadvantage. If you parry somebody's low attack, you're better off blocking. Even though you're going to take a lot of stamina damage as this class is mostly a counter-attack class. So it's basically like the actual Jeet Kune Do type of mindset. You want to intercept your opponent's attacks. You don't want to just get demolished and be stuck in defensive. Back stances, you can dodge back, dodge left, dodge right. It'll always lead to your front stance. So no matter what, if you dodge an attack, you're stuck in front stance until you can move your joystick, hold R2, move your joystick down, and be into the back stance. So do not rely on back stance. There are people that are on PC that keybind so that they can go into their back stance immediately, but that's going to be the only way that you can make this viable. You cannot make it viable any other way. So with that out of the way, let's try and hop into combat trials here. It takes a little while to find a game, so in the meantime, I think in the meantime we'll go into I guess we can go into bare hand stuff. So, like I mentioned, you're not going to have all these moves unlocked. It takes a couple hours, couple minutes to learn. It takes like 5 minutes to learn one attack. Learning all the attacks as soon as possible would be best for you when you start off the game, because otherwise you're at a disadvantage. Everybody around you has moves that you don't have access to. Sword moves, the only reason why you'd ever unlock every single one of these attacks is because you're trying to do the 100% completion of this game. I get nothing for it on PlayStation 5. PlayStation 4, I think you get a theme? I don't remember. I haven't 100%ed this game either, so don't worry about it. There's emotes and intros in this game. Each class has its own intro that you start off with. Once you beat the game and you unlock your Absolver cloak, here, let me show you real quick. Once you unlock this cloak and you go into combat trials, you reach level 61 for the first time, you'll have shards or crystals on the bottom left. You can see it above the fragments. Crystals. They're currency that you can use to purchase emotes. You can use it to purchase intros, as you can see here. Let me show you this intro. You can use it to purchase intros. You can use it to purchase emotes. You can use it to change your appearance and your race and your class. Well, not your class. Your appearance and your race and your sex or gender. And you can change hair and stuff. You can go bald. You can do whatever. No worries in the world. I'm not going to do that right now. It costs 5 shards to change your appearance. It costs 5 shards to buy Rift Disc. This is how you can get outfit pieces and components other than beating up NPCs in the game. That's pretty much all you can do with the Essence Shop. The Essence Shop, you also use fragments to purchase clothing and stuff. So if you want to be edgelord, you cover your whole face, yada yada. Once you reach combat trials level 3000, you'll unlock this mask. Pretty close to it. Is there anybody on this game? I could have sworn I've seen people, man. Look, this game kind of died after Sifu released, so no guarantees that I'm probably gonna fight a real opponent. I'll probably have to fight a boss or something. Here, let me move locations. Most of the time, people that are on this game are people that just bought the game. They're trying to learn how to play the game. So keep in mind that most of the time, you're not fighting somebody that's good at this game anymore. That's because this game, even though it's a pretty good game, it's not the worst game ever. The community in this game has kind of died out. Mostly because, I mean, there's not really much you can do. Oh, the staggered style bosses here, that's legit. There's not really much you can do in this game. The development on this game, pretty amateur. The system on this game is pretty amateur. Everything about this game is pretty amateur, but the community is what kept this game together, and now all the good players just decided, hey, you know what? Our Discord server has people that are good all the time. I don't want to fight noobs. Let's just fight each other all day. And most of the people have actually retired from this game, unfortunately. So you'd be lucky if you find people to fight in combat trials. And most of the time in the morning, it's faster. But no guarantees. Takes like a couple minutes. This guy's here, so maybe it's gonna let me get into a game fast. I have a whole bunch of like duplicate cosmetics and stuff. You can salvage duplicates and stuff so that you don't have to worry too much about it, and you'll get some fragments, not a lot of fragments. So if you purchased an outfit, pants or something, and you want to get your money back, you basically can't. So good luck with that. There's also school trials. Oh, here we go. Finally. Let's see who we're fighting. These loading screens are atrociously long. DM Jillian 91. Okay, so the colors mean quite a few things other than like life this game and you played so you got to level 61 like hundreds of thousands of times. They're basically a ranking system in the game. So you start off with nothing, then you go into bronze, and then you go into silver, then you go into gold, then it's jade, I believe. As you can see, I countered his... Oh, he's stagger style. I didn't realize. I countered his counter by just putting my face in it. It's kind of the general consensus with this class. Like, hey, hit me. As you can tell in the top left, I regained health after I killed my opponent. Well, not killed. This is YouTube. Defeated my opponent. You gain health back depending on how quick you finish your opponent. So if you finish your opponent pretty quick, you should not lose too much health. As you can tell, my opponent doesn't really know what they're doing completely, so they're getting decimated, but not to a high extent. But that's because I'm not, I'm not going to be one of those guys that, whoa, what was that lag? I'm not one of those opponents that just try and dodge everything, absorb everything, if you will. As you can tell, he did do some significant damage with his deck. The thing about this class is that you need to focus, because if you're a content creator, playing this game is hard. It's hard to make content. It's not hard to make content because it's like a terrible game. It's hard. It's difficult. Yeah, it might be difficult, but it's not the worst game. It's just when you're focused, you're not really focusing on what you're saying. You're gonna start cussing because you're trying not to get utterly decimated because you're talking too much crap. Oh, my opponent left. You're supposed to give me 3 games. Usually the general consensus for combat trials is you'll give your opponent 3 games overall. There's 3 rounds in each game, so that's like 15 minutes of content. But sometimes your opponent will get angry and leave just like that. No holds barred, but it's not really a problem. Let's be honest, it's not a problem. It's just, sometimes people just don't want to get decimated. They don't like getting destroyed, and they don't like losing. Not many people like losing either. So it's understandable. It's understandable. Now, most of the time, people will text each other, talking trash and PlayStation stuff. Basically, it's like Twitter, but on steroids. Except in this case, there's not much racist slurs and stuff. It's mostly just angry people getting angry, and you're antagonizing them, which I think is basically an arrestable offense. That's if they can catch you. Don't take my advice on that part. That'd be a lawsuit waiting to happen. So what you wear actually does matter in this game as well. So if I were to go to my thing here, on the left here, you can see in protection, this has 61% blunt protection, 31% cut protection. This does matter because you start off with weapons and swords and stuff. That's why they have moves and stuff. You can actually equip a weapon, and in the middle of a match, probably by round 2, you'll have your shards filled, and you'll be able to pull out a sword or war gloves. Basically boxing gloves, but with extra steps. And it, depending on the weapon, it'll cause blunt damage or cut damage. You could tell by underneath the damage by attack style, you see damage type. So this is more in between, but it does slightly more cut damage than it does blunt damage. This does mostly cut. This does completely cut damage. This does almost completely cut damage, and this does cut damage. Now, finally a game started. Lord. Let's see what's going on here. I stole this look, by the way. It's not my typical fashion in this game. I'm fighting a newer player. Now, most of the time you want to watch out for newer players because most of the time these are just veteran players that are just pretending to be default. And it's usually very obvious. What in the McDonald's Wi-Fi, Batman? What is this? Okay. That's from his school that he joined. Schools in this game basically allow newer players to have access to abilities that they shouldn't. That ability is called Shadow Void. It's from the DLC. When you play through the DLC, you'll eventually unlock it. And unlocking the attack allows you to basically... Whoa. Sorry. It allows you to basically trap your opponent's attack into the void. And you won't be able to attack immediately, but you'll have the advantage when you do attack. And he has Force there that gives advantage. Basically advantage in terms of basically it's the get the hell away from me move so that you can deal with pressure. I'm not going to use my abilities just yet. What in the McDonald's Wi-Fi, Batman? What is this? I don't even know what's happening. That's not legit. This is typical of this game. This game has pretty bad connection issues. It's basically like Call of Duty. When the guy that's across the other team is getting angry at you in the lobby and he tells you to 1v1 him, and then you 1v1 him in a sniper-only contest, and you just realize that your opponent just doesn't know where they are. They don't know what the hell's going on because their lag sent them to Mars. That's basically what's happening here. But as you can see, this deck is pretty viable. It's been able to counter most of the classes so far. Not a single loss yet. And it's actually very interesting how this deck actually flows properly. And that's because we paid attention to the frame data. Most of the time when people make a deck, let's see here, this is an all-kick deck. This is an example. This is a proper example. So you're in meditation, right? Fighting this guy. It looks to be amazing. It looks like it's going to hit. Everything here is going so well. It's flowing so nice. And then you hop into a match and then someone counters every single attack here. So then you go into a spiral, you start making things up, reasons why you lost, and blah, 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 blah. Basically, you have no accountability. And that's unfortunate. It's a thing that happens to most of us. It's just called stop being a perfectionist. Make a deck that's fun, do whatever's fun. Don't worry too much about the details. And you'll be fine. You know, it's not like you're going to lose everything just because you lost a match. But it does happen. It does happen sometimes. And most of the time, you'll see people doing this all the time. This attack is 10 frames. Like I said, 10 frame attacks. These are light attacks. Light attacks don't do that much damage. But if you see the speed meter there underneath power on the right side, you can see that it's pretty much like, what, 91% mostly into speed. So this attack, you'll see defaults just do this, and into this move chain. This move chain will definitely hit you because you got to use your starter to confirm the next attack and the next attack. So it confirms because these two lights are the same frames, and this last one doesn't confirm. You will dodge this attack all the time, and they'll continue using these two to hit you with this. Which, I mean, it's not that bad to deal with if you have good reaction speeds. But if you're like me and you need your morning coffee and you're playing this game before you can get your morning coffee, you're going to send quite a bit of nasty messages to that person, and it's going to be awful. It's going to sound and look terrible on your end, and you're not going to cry about it. You're just going to laugh about it, move on. And your opponent usually does too, because, you know, they're playing this game, they're doing that on purpose. They're trolls. They're trolls. They live under the bridge. They ask for the password, even though you don't know the password. Anyways, back onto what I was talking about earlier. So, what you wear definitely matters, but it doesn't matter to an extent where it will take away things from you. All it does is determine, like, if your opponent sees that your protection against blunt is, well, they won't be able to see it, but they can infer. If your protection against blunt is awful, then you're going to get clubbed to hell. And if your protection against cut is horrible, they're going to pull out a sword in round 2 and just go all willy-nilly with you. Sword attacks are also pretty hard to predict. Some attacks are like almost impossible to dodge, I think. Especially since the speed of... Oh, this guy again. Hello. Especially since the speed of it is pretty the speed of most sword attacks are actually kind of fast, especially for the slow ones. So you got to keep an eye out for that. Oh, what? Is it because I'm recording or something? What in the freaking laggy? Oh. Okay. His back turned toward me is like... His back turned to me is the most dangerous thing in the world right now. I have no idea what the rhythm is here. He's trying to knock me off. Okay. My turn now. He's going to dodge. Dodge. And Shadow Void. This is Exhaust. It prevents your opponent from catching their stamina, and if you get hit while you're popping it, you don't take damage. It's pretty overpowered if you think about it, because if your opponent likes giving you pressure... Jesus Christ, what in the blipping blips? If your opponent is on the offense... Oh gosh. That was a bad play. If your opponent is on the offense and you're on defense, and then you pop that, it's basically saying, "Hey, fuck you. This is my turn now." And oh gosh, my stamina. Okay, chill it out. Chill out, Pepper Pops. Oh gosh. See, my opponent is very angry right now. That's why they're going absolutely bonkers on me. But it doesn't matter. Your boy got the win. Especially since they're going freaking Pepper Pops over here. See, this is what I mean. Like sword play in this to it can be the most fun thing you'll ever see. But if you don't consent to it, your opponent is just going to be going for their sword. He's panicking because he doesn't have a sword. He's gonna pick it up. Oh, no, he's not. He's exceeded my expectations. Oh, gosh. This is why you want to keep control of your stamina. Now I have control of the sword. Oh, what? What in the... Who are you? That's basically the showcase. I mean, what else am I gonna do? Just play the game? He's gonna leave anyways, right? Right? There you go. Only reason why I know he leaves is because in the bottom, it'll tell you your opponent. It'll tell you rematching in a couple of seconds, but if your opponent leaves, it'll start immediately searching for the next game. You don't typically want to wait in that lobby waiting for the next game. You want to go back and click on the altar, go ahead and go into Combat Trials and launch, because it's a lot faster. Let's go find a good place to do our outro here. Let's see. No, get away from me. I don't like you, Beehive Mask. No, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Jesus. Alright, let's get rid of these opponents here, and then we'll do our outro out here. It's good lighting. Oh my. Oh. I just got disrespected here. What in the unholy... Alright. There goes Sam Smith. Let's do the outro in the same outfit that I had before. There we go. Alright, guys. So that's going to be the tutorial / showcase. I didn't really go into too many things here. Actually, I should probably go into Unlock Tech. You know what? I'll do that next time. This is going to be the video for today, so I'll see you guys next time. Peace.